You are live with Dr. Chapa. Good morning, good day, whatever time you're tuned in. You are on the Dr. Chapa Wellness Show, and you know what time it is. It's time to learn, it's time to grow, it's time to get sharper and take the bull by the horns when it comes to your health, because your health matters. It's your life, your health, your choice, and we know that no one's going to look after your health more than you are. So if you are out there confused on why your body's breaking down, why you got symptom patterns that you weren't genetically born with, I'm here to teach you how to live a better quality life through lifestyle practices. We have many options out there that you can tap into to live better just through lifestyle choices, food choices. There are tons of things we can do to reduce inflammation in our body just through lifestyle health food choices. You know, what is a health food? Why do we have health food stores? Why is there a health food section? What's the rest of the store? Did you know that 8% of the grocery store would be left after you remove all foods, processed foods, packaged foods, junk foods that contain hidden sugars? Oh my gosh. So think of your big box store that you love going to, and then only 18% of the store would be worth eating. Why do we have all that other stuff in there? And this is a new good question that you need to be asking yourself. It isn't just simply shop the perimeter. Yes, that's a good start. But what if you're consuming foods that are laced with hidden sugars, and those hidden sugars are wrecking your metabolism? Because that's exactly what's happening. So we really want to dial in and help figure out why your body's breaking down and what we can do to fix or regulate or influence your health on a better trajectory. I get excited about teaching people how to live their best, be their best, stay their best day in and day out. And I'm shocked at the people that just won't stop consuming sugar, artificial sugar, high fructose corn syrup, the 4 deadly food additives that I always reference. This is a real problem. If you are consuming fake food, make-believe food, the best you'll ever have, guys, is make-believe health. So when we come to a class like this and we're looking at sugar, every one of you know that you don't need a book on what sugar can do to the body. I've got a document from Nancy Appleton's book, Lick the Sugar Habit, that simply says that there's 146 different ways that sugar can wreck and ruin your health. I could only get 136 or so to fit on a page, double columned, and level 12 or 10 or 8 font. It was redunculous. Very small fonts. And still there was a little bit of bleed and not enough material that I had to go through and just say, cherry pick the ones I could get on the sheet. You've got to take blood sugar quizzes. You've got to resource and look at what is your lifestyle setting you up for? How often are you craving sugar? How often are you waking up in the middle of the night restless? How much do you wake up at night to pee? How are you making it through your day? Are you crashing between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m.? If you find your body going through the day struggling to make it through a meeting, or if you've got chronic fatigue, brain fog, memory lapses, can't remember why you walked into a room, on and on and on. Blood sugar typically is a underlying culprit. And then I've got people in the elderly department that think eating less is good because intermittent fasting, you shouldn't have to eat 1 meal a day. Listen, older you are, your blood sugar gets dysregulated because you've got more biotoxins, more accumulated waste products that you can't get rid of, and you need to fuel the system and you're not. So sometimes we got to get you just flat out eating more because you've stressed out your system or not detoxed enough, and your body will naturally start turning back on, and then you'll start seeing restoration and healing start occurring again, where a lot of people, as they age, they start noticing they don't heal as fast. Their fingernails get wobbly and wrinkly and wavy. That is weak nails is a sign of nutritional deficiencies. So we can dive into this blood sugar story and see how it's affecting even your skin, your hair, your nails, your cardiovascular system. Your blood sugar obviously regulates everything in the body. So without further ado, guys, if you have symptom patterns that you were not genetically born with, which oftentimes that means if you didn't come out of the womb with a headache or high blood pressure, odds are you developed it. And that's why I want you tuned in. This is why I want you sharing this message. This is why this is such an important program to teach people how to live better, be better, stay better, day in and day out. So what your body may be telling you when it comes to blood sugar regulation. Well, when I look at a person's blood sugar and I start trying to show them where their body is mismanaging sugar, I don't always go to poking fingers because I don't know if you ever tried it. It's tedious, it's cumbersome, and it's painful. Nobody likes doing that, especially on the regular. Now, I do like it, and don't get me wrong, it'd be great if we could just quickly use a tool. Oh, they have those. It's called a continuous glucose monitor. One poke, you're done for 2 weeks. I totally dig that. And they say that there's a little bit of accuracy issues, but that's not what you're worried about. What you just need is an accurate, consistent, accurate for that tool. So a finger prick daily is going to be a little different than a continuous because it's taking measurements in a different part of the body, and it's just a different technology. But the consistency factor matters. So for example, I would get out of a cold bath every morning at 30 or 5:30, and I would notice that my blood sugar pattern for almost 3 months of doing a continuous blood sugar check, I would have a spike, a super high spike right after I got out of a cold bath. Well, adrenaline hits, it regulates cortisol, the body goes into fight or flight. My body had a surge in energetic gluconeogenesis, glucose new production, and in order to go fight or flight because the body perceived a threat being in ice cold temperatures for 5 minutes. Very cool to see and watch. I was a fasting blood sugar, was just fine in the morning when I woke up. And then as soon as I got out of the cold bath, I noticed the trend spiking. And it was in the 140s or 50s or even sometimes 160s after a cold bath. But then it came right back down and it was just fine, back to a normal good morning fasting blood sugar, which for me was in the A department. And so as long as you don't get shaky or irritable, as long as you're not feeling the afternoon dip, your blood sugar may not be the core culprit, but it's definitely still a playing factor. So high blood sugar is a number on a lab report. I run it all the time, but you can't build a case around just blood sugar and poking your finger, although it is effective. What is blood sugar? See, blood sugar or blood glucose is the body's circulating sugar resource. It's energy inside your cell. It fires up and fuels the body to perform better. When you eat obvious sugar, when you eat carbohydrates that convert to sugar, these are broken down into glucose molecules and then it enters the bloodstream. When it's in the bloodstream, your body sends out insulin, a hormone, to regulate, to go up and grab that blood sugar out of the artery and then pull it into the cell where the body's cells, remember there's 38 trillion cells in your body, which I think is phenomenal and amazing and cool, that you're having to fuel each and every time you eat food. So we want to see what those numbers are looking like. Well, how many times do you go in and you don't even get an insulin check? They're not testing it, guys, not unless you're asking for it. So you got to ask for this every time. I run it standard on all my panels. You read into just glucose and just hemoglobin A1C, you're going to find out that it's not enough. There's other factors that are playing a part. So we have to look at insulin as well. When blood sugar stays high, your blood glucose begins to stress out the body. Those cells begin to misfire. It's like you are overstimulated and you start getting the jitters. That's because you hit a breaking point. We don't want our red blood cells, white blood cells, basically in a sugar glucose pool coma. They are less functional, they are sluggish and effective, they are not efficient in carrying oxygen to tissues, nutrients to tissues, and they are for sure not effective and or efficient in detoxing tissues of waste and debris, otherwise known as toxins, anything your body cannot use. So persistent high blood sugar can cause the irritation or irritability, inflammatory responses inside the lining of your arteries. That's a big problem if you want to run blood through your cycle systems all throughout the day. This is your roadway for delivering and transporting nutrients to the tissues and then removing waste and toxins from the tissues. Blood vessels have to be healthy. So how could you tell your blood vessels are not healthy? If you look at your nose and you start seeing those little veiny worm-looking things in your nose or in your cheeks, If you start noticing microvascular areas like that breaking up and throughout your body, spider veins is another indicator that shows up in a lot of people when they have weak arterial lining. If you bruise easily, if you have pink toothbrush syndrome where you brush your teeth and it's bloody, if your gums bleed after flossing, if you notice your gums hurting, this is oftentimes signs that the arterial tissues, the capillary tissues, are weak in the walls. We can fix that. That is something that is nutritionally supported, and the body will begin to reverse, repair, regenerate those tissues back to good working order so that you can handle good blood flow. I love this story. I had this one patient that his mom had a stroke, and they called me and said, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And I said, well, number one, keep moving her joints. Move her ankles, her wrist, her toes, her fingers. Keep bending her elbows and knees as often and regularly as possible, because a lot of times these stroke victims are just put in a bed and we sit there and watch them. That's the worst thing you could do for a neurologically messed up person. You want to get in there and activate those neural pathways. That's the best thing you can do. But then you want to support blood flow to the brain. So I did just that. I put them on a product that increased the efficiency of blood volume in the tissues, and that increased the white blood cell, red blood cell production sites from the bone marrow. Well, interestingly enough, within a day or two, they call me back and says, oh no, grandma's arm like veins and arteries just blew up. You ever kind of somebody that has these big pools of bruising and there's no explanation? You can almost see a trail of it. Well, you would think, oh no, bad product, bad idea. Why'd you do that to the patient? I didn't do that to the patient. The product increased volume of blood in the arteries, and the arteries revealed their own weakness, for why they had the stroke. And now we had a game to play because we got to the root cause. We go, wow, we increased blood flow trying to get blood to the brain, oxygen to the brain, nutrients to the brain to help with the stroke symptoms. But then we discovered along the path that we blew up some roadways, and we had to go fix those roadways. How did we do that? We used rutin. We used the full vitamin C complex. We used vitamin F, the full vitamin F complex, to help deliver nutrients to the inside of the cell, the muscle tissue of the artery and venous tissue, and those capillaries, and it restored it. So we had to back off the volume product and push in the repair product and get that artery and vein and capillary system at the lining stronger. Wow. I wouldn't even think about that, right? But high blood sugar also affects your nerves. It causes them to spiral out of control, which is why people say, oh, I get the jitters if I overeat sugar, or I frankly even get a stomach ache because you drive too much neural energy and blood flow into the stomach and you get a sour stomach. Low back pain, kidney disruption. The blood sugar left unchecked for long periods of time cause the kidneys to take a burden, a hit, like somebody's in there with a razor blade just scraping at the walls of those tissues in your kidneys and bladder, and it's setting up symptoms of infection to set in. That's a UTI, essentially, right? So we have to, or left unchecked from there, a interstitial cystitis if you get autoimmunity of the bladder wall. So kidneys are affected by high blood sugar. Of course, your eyeballs, we talked about your gums, and of course, oh my goodness, your heart. Not a good plan to be screwing around with the pump that drives food chemicals, food nutrients to the tissues and waste and debris away from the tissues. You need that pump pumping, and you need the flex in the arterial system in the brain all the way down to your toes. So this is an important thing to make sure you have for long-term good health. Common signs that people have blood sugar problems. They are constantly thirsty. They frequently urinate at night. They have increased hunger throughout the day. They never are satisfied. They eat a meal and they're still hungry. They have blurred vision, unexplained fatigue. They have unexplained weight changes. They can't lose weight. They got that little muffin top around the middle. That means that they have an insulin problem. That means they have a cortisol problem that is also affecting your blood sugar. Something that's kind of interesting to think. You have 6 hormones that are designed to burn body fat. You've got 3 hormones that store body fat. If any one of the hormones, like adrenaline, if insulin, cortisol, the 3 hormones that store fat, if any one of those 3 kick on, all 6 fat-burning hormones shut off. That is not fair, is it? So it should be 2 times easier to lose weight than it is to gain weight. But when cortisol, stress, is left unchecked, blood sugar's left unchecked and you get this adrenaline and insulin issue. If you are constantly stressed running from the grizzly bear and adrenaline's through the roof all the time and your stress levels are over a 7, you've heard me rate the stress scale. Nervous, overwhelmed, anxious, and panicky. Those are 7, 8, 9, 10 on a 0 to 10 scale. If you're experiencing those symptoms on the regular and you feel like you have that pit in your stomach that just won't quit, then guess what? We know that you have a blood sugar problem. So we have to get those tissues regulating themselves, keep the burden down so that you can get back to losing weight and burning body fat and not having that muffin top. That would be a great way to feel like your body's under control. So some people will have noticeable shifts in blood sugar regulation in a quick, fast working order if they will just start their day right in order to end it right. So one of the things that I would just tell you right out the gate is, one, are you drinking enough water? You need to assess it. Are you eating protein for breakfast? You need to assess it. If you're not inspecting your lifestyle practices, you can't expect any changes because you don't know what you're looking for. And then find a way to measure. It can be a glucose test. It can be a continuous glucose monitor. I do think those are very valuable. I used to do all the gadgets and contraptions. I've gotten away from a lot of it because it's cumbersome and it's tedious, but I've done it so long. I eat the same way day in and day out. I've developed my 11 to 15 common meals that I regularly eat over and over, day in and day out. The occasional one-off where if I get off track isn't going to mess my numbers up very much. All right. So this is huge in regulating why a person's blood sugars are out of balance. So factors that influence insulin and glucose is processed carbohydrates, fake food, make-believe food. If it is bread, rice, cereal, pastas, corn, tortillas, oftentimes these are highly processed foods that you're having to fix and figure out on your own, and it is wrecking your blood sugar. It is going to cause you to have an imbalance for long periods of time, which is going to then cause those fat-burning hormones to kick on and shut off your fat, your fat-burning hormones to shut off and your fat-storing hormones to kick on. That is scary, man. We don't want that to happen. So excess calorie intake. If you overindulge in too many calories in one setting, I mean, you start looking at the amount of calories that comes from a can of Coke, a cookie, and a bag of Skittles compared to a steak dinner. You go, the blood sugar impact, the insulin impact that a steak has is nothing compared to that of sugar and sugar sources, processed grains. These processed grains have to come out of your diet. We were duped. Back in the 70s, we were told that we needed 6 to 11 servings a day of grains. Now, all the grains you're eating are processed to the hilt. They're not even real. They got more chemicals in there than you can shake a stick at. And these food manufacturing companies aren't even having to be held accountable to what they're putting in the food. They don't have to warn you that it can cause diabetes. They don't have to warn you that it can cause cancer. They don't have to warn you that your body can be in a chronic inflammatory state, metabolic disruptive state, day in and day out. Why is that? Because when you follow the food money, you start realizing that there's one goal, your dollar in their pocket. And so you have to be astute and remember that 18% of the grocery store is worth eating. The other 88% is useless, garbage, processed, fake. And if you eat fake, make-believe food, the best you'll ever have is what? Put in the comments. Make-believe health, okay? Increase physical inactivity. We live in a culture today where we sit. I can't even stand sitting in front of this computer sharing this message because I don't enjoy sitting. I want to be up moving around. I wish I could just be out in the garden. I was out there playing with bonsai trees and plumerias and lime trees this morning, and it's so freeing in the sunshine. It's so rich having my feet in the dirt and the grass. And I'd rather be out there talking to you about this, but here we are. I want to make sure that you are getting the information and realizing that, hey, I just gave you 2 practical ideas. Drink more water, eat protein for breakfast, and get out in the sun. That is powerhouse. And those are, frankly, 2 out of the 3 most best pillars of good health that we can regulate. Okay, here comes the next 2. Chronic stress affects everything. It's still the silent killer. If you are stagnant, remember sitting's the new smoking. If you are never in the sun, your body is not regulating your hormones, your metabolism well, and then you're chronically under the gun and stress because, hey, let's just call you a high achiever, a type A personality, a person that I would probably want to work with. we would soon discover that your body just can't keep up with that workload and that stagnant lifestyle and that chronic level of stress, because now it's going to start impacting your sleep. Now, when you start dysregulating sleep, causing sleep to not be good, you can't fall asleep, stay asleep, you wake up at night to pee, you wake up tossing and turning, you wake up, stare at the ceiling for an hour, bad dreams, nightmares, all those things. Those are indicators that your body is in that high chronic cortisol, high chronic adrenaline state, shutting off fat burning, okay? So you're never going to lose weight that way, and storing at a basically warp speed rate because now none of your fat burners are working. This is sad. Poor sleep is a recipe for lack of recovery, what I call the accelerated aging process or the suddenlies disease process. So you wake up suddenly with an issue in your body. Nothing happened, just suddenly, all of a sudden, overnight seemingly, you got sick. No. This has been going on for months. This has been going on for years, and your body's been compensating, but because the chronic sleep and chronic stress and poor sleep patterns began to set in, deficiency continued to manifest, and growth hormone couldn't keep you in the recovery zone, you began to manifest symptoms that you shouldn't have developed in the first place. Because if you follow my 7 practical tips, if you follow the rules of nutrition, the lifestyle practices for good health, you will thrive where everybody else around you is aging on the accelerated aging curve. Certain medications, man, cause all kinds of disruption. I had a patient just go through a major surgery. They gave her one painkiller that caused all kinds of constipation, dizziness, and the fall rate went up astronomically. Well, that's not a good idea for somebody that just came out of surgery that we can't afford to fall. But interestingly, don't worry, the doctors gave her an anti-dizzy medication. They gave her an anti-blood thickening agent. They gave her a blood thinner. They gave her a constipation pill. It was atrocious. 6 medications because of one side effect from the first medications for pain. And it just dominoed into 5, 6 other medications. Amazingly sad way to treat patients, because really and truly, now you've got a patient that needs to recover, that needs to be up, moving around and encouraged, and their blood and body not toxic, their liver not burdened, their kidneys not overworked. And now we got them stagnant. They can't move and groove. They are dizzy all the time, so they feel miserable. So what does that do for your psychology? And so that doesn't encourage that wound healing. And then the drugs are toxins themselves. And I understand, man, if you're in pain, but here's the deal. We got to get you off that ASAP. And then we've got to find better resources and tools. Herbal medicine, great place to be. Plant enzymes, proteolytic enzymes, all kinds of different nutrients that you can put into a healing and restorative muscle tissue, tendon tissue, and joint synovial capsule tissue. Beautiful. Well done. If you play the wellness game, you've got to be astute. These doctors don't know how to do this, so their favorite words are stop everything. They are crazy. I'm like, you're sitting here giving them 6 medications because one medication side effects leads to another medication, and that one leads to another, to another, to another. No wonder now, if you're not moving and grooving, your blood sugar is getting dysregulated. And then the food train comes along and it's feeding you sugar, it's feeding you processed food, grains that are spiking your insulin, shutting off your fat burners, and now it's a chronic perpetuating cycle. So in your recovery, you gain 20, 30 pounds, and it's hard to recover from this. You see this dichotomy, this perpetuating cycle of decline. This is very scary, and this is why illness is such a costly issue. Like setback can really put you to a funky spot. Illnesses and hormonal changes. Blood sugar affects your hormones. One cookie, one soda can paralyze, and I mean your immune system for up to 8 hours. 8 hours. That means if you're starting back school, if you're going back as a teacher or a student, and you're hanging out with all these naughty kids that you haven't been hanging out with for the last 3 months because of summer, and now you're in a building that hasn't been opened, it hasn't had enough time to breathe, you're getting all that dust particle, you're getting possibly molds, you're getting possibly exposed to other bacterium that is just naturally occurring and your body should be able to handle, but now you've paralyzed your immune system, and now you catch colds. Really. That's how it works, man. You eat junk, it weakens your body manifests toxicity through symptomatology, and you suffer with an illness, a high fever, or missed sick work days and school days, and this creates stress for the home. And of course, it leads right into hormonal dysregulation. See, sex hormones are all about vitality, energy output, creativity, and mojo. If your body is stressed to the gill, you're going to shut off those sex hormones, convert them into stress hormones, and manage the stress. That's your body protecting you. It's Thank God it will, but you don't want to be living on that circuit for long. Insulin is the traffic controller. Think of insulin as a traffic controller for glucose. I love this book that's called Eat Bacon, Don't Jog. Elevated insulin levels drive fat into the arteries. It causes your body to have an accumulated thickening of the arterial and venous lines. This process makes people gain weight rapidly and the blood gets thick. Blood sugar spikes and insulin response cause your blood sugar from carbohydrate intake to just sit there like a brick in your stomach. And insulin, when bathed around the cells so rapidly, so frequently, because they live in a chronic high sugar state, the cells, instead of responding to insulin, will be like, I'm not going to respond to him today. He's knocking at the door, he's calling on the phone, he's emailing me, but I'm just not going to respond. And when that happens, that's called insulin resistance. And now sugar left in the blood starts to thicken up and get you into a really metabolically unhealthy space. So there's a great book called Eat Bacon, Don't Jog, or The Glucose Revolution by Jesse and Chapa. And when you look at these books by Nancy Appleton on Lick the Sugar Habit, or Getting Back to the Basics of Health and Nutrition by Mary Frost, you start realizing that it isn't just the sugar spike, it is the insulin spike that is creating your problem. So we want to help you navigate this journey forward and show you what you can do to get your cells more responsive to insulin, stop spiking your insulin, stop spiking your blood glucose, get your cortisol under control. And so yes, if you have insulin resistance or diabetes, you have a hormone problem. Do I fix hormones? Yes, we support people with hormonal problems day in and day out, whether you're menopausal, perimenopausal, whether you just are out of balance even in your fertile years, even if you're in your early puberty years. So even the young kids, we've got tools and resources to help you. So your body needs support, and insulin really is the devil. If you can get it under control, things work better in your favor. So how do we build healthy food? Protein, protein, protein. Fiber-rich vegetables or fiber-rich fruits, healthy fats, minimal to no processed grains, processed foods, packaged foods, sugary foods, dressings, sodas. All these things add up quick, fast, and in a hurry. Fast food chains will get you every time. There's a reason that bags of potato chips says, I bet you can't eat just one. It's chemically designed that way, and using MSG, partially hydrogenated oils, artificial ingredients, artificial high fructose corn syrup, all these things add to their product and your addictive nature. So sometimes your inability to walk past a donut or a chip is because there are people that have programmed your taste buds to crave, like a crack addict. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but in some respects, you might not be a crack addict, but you might be a chip addict, or you might be some processed food addict, and you can't walk past the stuff. I had this one guy say, my car just pulls right into the fast food drive-in. No, it doesn't. The sugar bugs, I guess, are driving you towards eating foods that feed them and not feed good health, those 38 trillion healthy cells. And there is a great book called Your Brain on Parasites. And if you open this book up, what you start to realize is that parasites and yeast are driving your body to crave what you are craving. So if you crave pizza and beer, odds are you have a gut problem, gut liver problem, and the parasites are probably in those areas, and they're desiring and craving those types of foods. Fried foods, sweet foods, salty foods, oftentimes can be driven by bug overgrowth, dysbiosis. Dys meaning imbalance, bio meaning life. And so we've got to get rich quality proteins in regularly and foods that have no label. That would be a good start to your day. Notice cauliflower, potatoes, and zucchini, and radishes, and peas, and cucumber don't have labels, do they? I mean, barcode on there, but there lies, a different question. So movement regulates your blood sugar. If the dude don't move, the dude don't groove. This is actually the sixth most important thing you can be doing every day for your good health. And all the exercise guys get mad at me when I talk about that. You don't have to spend hours in the gym. As a matter of fact, I rarely go to the gym. I just work out in my backyard or under my porte-cochere, and I move and groove with weights, kettlebells, club bells, mace, and I have found this ancient science and art of movement is functionally fit patterns of whole body wellness, dynamic ballistic activities that open and close the hips, that regulate my joints. It's like WD-40 for all the tissues. That's awesome. So regular movement helps your muscles regulate glucose, which then helps your body regulate insulin, regulate cortisol, and now you start getting on the track of health, wellness, and vitality. You see how that kind of plays in. So even though it's number 6, it's still vitally important in the 7 principles that Dr. Chapa and I teach. Yeah, Dr. myself teaches. So walk every day. Every morning, take your dogs for a walk. Every evening after dinner, take your wife or spouse for a walk. Strength training, lift something heavy. Powerful resources and tools around the power of, the hinge at the waist and lift something heavy like a deadlift or a kettlebell suitcase deadlift, or do a one-legged lunge or just a body squat where you take your butt all the way down. And you build into these cycles. So don't feel bad if you're not there today. Let's work at it, get there so that you don't lose what you've not been using. So if you don't use it, you lose it, right? Cycling, got people that love biking and going for 50, 60-mile rides. Do it, rock and roll, swim laps in pools. Other activities that you enjoy, hiking, playing in the garden, believe it or not, can be valuable. Throw a weight vest on while you're in the garden. And that way you've got some kind of weight resistance on your back. When you add movement to your day and you get outside in the elements, you will get more bang for your buck than you could possibly shake a stick at. Don't ignore the sleep and stress regulatory patterns. So like I mentioned earlier, if sleep is dysfunctional, guess what? Your blood sugar is probably off. You're going to be tossing and turning, and night sweats at night, having bad dreams. Sleep, movement, and good nutrition equals stress management. And so you don't actually have to stress manage if you have good nutrition, good movement, good sleep, because your body will prioritize stress management more effectively. And of course, thinking better, renewing your mind every day from a spiritual perspective, the influence of all 7 pillars makes us better in the spiritual regulatory environment. So we find God and we find Christ and we go, the peace that surpasses all understanding guards our heart and our mind and our soul through Christ Jesus. And then when stress comes, because it's going to come, if you've lived on this planet long enough, you know as I did, you're going to be thrown into the deep end, right? And so think whole body health. Don't think a single number. So glucose by itself is useless. Hemoglobin A1C by itself is useless. Insulin is not at all useless. Actually, if you got an insulin number and you didn't know your glucose and hemoglobin A1C and the insulin was super high, you got a problem. If it's super low, you're in good standing. That's what we want. So know your numbers, okay? So if you haven't come to let me do a fasting blood sugar check on you or look at your metabolic activity through our functional medicine labs test, you're missing a huge piece of your healthcare plan. I teach doctors all over the country how to read blood work. Why? Because no one knows how to read this stuff. It's mind-boggling that doctors look at a cardiovascular panel or a digestive panel or a rheumatoid panel or a thyroid panel, and they don't look at the full picture of what they're looking at. So the liver does affect your thyroid. The stomach digestion does affect your brain and blood and joints. So you have to look at everything. Hemoglobin A1C, if you think it's just simply a 2 to 3 month report card for your blood sugar, that is a truth, but it's not the absolute truth. There's more that hemoglobin A1C measures. It also reveals infection, chronic infection. So when left unchecked and you know your sugar's in line, your triglycerides are in line, and your insulin is in line, it isn't your blood sugar. So why would it be high? Because of infection. So there's hidden infectious markers that we look at. But we're talking about sugar today. So these are the big ones for your sugar. So if insulin's not on that list, you're missing an opportunity to see if you are storing fat or burning fat. Elevated insulin will drive fat into your arteries. It'll drive fat into the organs. Now we have high visceral fat, which makes the organs less efficient and causes the body to malfunction very quickly. The process is what causes people to gain weight, store fat, and their brain to get sluggish and funky, and their blood sugar to get perpetually worse as the weeks, months, years go by. The average person is like gaining to 12 pounds a year. And that's on a good trajectory statistic. But really and truly, you need to be able to maintain good weight and lean out, get your muscle mass up, which means we need more protein, more minerals, more hydration. This is critical to maximize. So when should you go get checked out? The minute you feel like your body's crashing, the minute you feel like your brain is foggy, the minute you can't focus in the meeting, the minute you feel angry, irritable, anxiety. You might be thinking to yourself, man, this just sounds like my children. They need to be checked too. Bring them in. Yes, I work on children. My office is set up, equipped, because we love kids and they are the next generation. And when you take care of your kids, when you take care of your health, your own health, you're recapturing their generational health issues and you're recovering yours. Beautiful. And so if you have headaches, if you have restless sleep, can't finish a task, belly pain, sugar cravings, these are all reasons to get your hiney in and let's check you out. This is what we do at our office. We'll do in-house surveys. We'll do in-house testing. We'll do blood testing, functional testing in order to figure out where your glitches are at. And yes, we do these on the regular, every year, 6 months, and some of these tests that I run every 3 months because I want to show you where your body is malfunctioning. I had literally a 20-year-old come in with one of our metabolic studies, and she's not absorbing anything. She's highly inflammatory. Her body's got bottlenecks all in the mitochondria, and I can see that on this test, and we'll rerun it in 90 days and make improvements and see what we did to make those improvements through diet, lifestyle, and better sleep patterns. And boom, she will be on a better trajectory when she gets married and gets into the fertile years. And so this is huge. This is not just for the elderly or the middle-aged or the menopausal. This is for anybody that can fog glass, meaning you can breathe and you're alive. We want to run these tests regularly. So you get in and we will work with you. And while we're waiting for the blood work to get back, we don't need the blood work to make you better. We need the blood work to show you because you need to see it, but we need to really be monitoring your food log, monitoring your pH, monitoring your sleep, monitoring your bowels. We want to find out maybe even what your blood pressure has been doing. And we regulate your body based on what it's giving us manually. We have to do some inputs, inspection, so that we can expect a better outcome. And then you'll get to a point where you don't need all the gizmos and the gadgets. I love them, but why I don't need them? I mean, I was the same and I still do my blood work every 3 months, every 6 months, every year. I run different things, stool tests, hormone tests, and yes, Dr. Chapa runs a ton of labs from all kinds of companies because I'm a functional guy. I believe in testing. I think it's powerful. So your body is constantly giving you information, and the tests help us do that. Food and lifestyle, though, is key. Food and lifestyle is medicine. If the dude ain't moving, the dude ain't grooving. So we got to make sure that you are getting all the 7 pillars in place so that you are firing off correctly. High blood sugar is a signal, okay? Don't ask, how do I lower my number? Ask, why is my blood sugar elevated? Do I have an infection? Am I overeating carbs? Am I eating the wrong foods? Am I eating inflammatory foods? Did they even check my insulin? If they're not checking insulin, they're behind the 8 ball. And find somebody else. Come see me. I got you back. Did they look at vitamin D? Did they look at magnesium? Do they even believe food matters? If you're going to a place like, our medical system, but they have a fast food joint on the first floor of a major medical institution here in Houston. What? Why would they allow fake make-believe food to be treating cancer patients or autoimmune patients or severely sick disease patients? Because it's not about health. It's about making the dollar on sick people and then telling them that food doesn't matter. Look, if food didn't matter, then don't eat. Because if it does matter and you don't eat and die, and you do eat and live, what you eat's important, but what you don't eat is more important. So we have to teach you what to eat, what not to eat, and we start that just through inspection of your food logs, pH logs, and lifestyle logs. So this is powerful in working people through the journey here. So stay connected with us. Coming to the end of yet another Dr. Chapa Wellness Show, man, I get motivated and excited to teach this stuff to you guys. I hope you get excited too, because when you take the health bull by the horn, so to speak, you thrive, you live well, you stay well all the days of your life. I want to teach you train you and develop you like I try to do with all my patients and all my staff and all my family and my families that trust us through the challenges of life and the seasons of life. Life's coming. You can't stop the curveballs. It rains on the just and the unjust, but you can get ready. You can be prepared. You can figure out real quick how much junk food you're putting in if you do a food log with us and let us show you where the hidden stuff is. That's what's so really exciting for people is they find out the hidden stuff and they go, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So we've got detox tips. We have a detox that we're running on the regularly in our office and online in order to give you tips, tricks, and resources to feel your best, live your best, be your best day in and day out. So take out your phone and click on that QR code, activate the QR code, and you are in for a treat. We've got a list, a litany of opportunity for you to live your best, be your best, stay your best day in and day out. So without further ado, guys, I want to say thank you for tuning in to the Dr. Chapa Wellness Show. Share this message with your friend, family, loved one, those that you care about. You go back, rewatch, listen, and put in the comments, what did you learn? What inspired you? What sparked a piece of curiosity? And what's one thing that you're going to do tonight or tomorrow or this week in order to change the trajectory of your health? So